All right, guys. Hi, how are you guys today? We are Pocket Radar, and we've brought a really great group of panelists up here to discuss how new technology ecosystems are empowering coaches in the game. That sounds super boring, so we'll break it down really quick. Basically, we're a bunch of tech companies sitting up here talking about how not only technology can help coaches and athletes ultimately, but really how working together as businesses, we can create such solutions for you guys that you wouldn't have otherwise. So we've got some great panelists up here. They'll do a quick intro of themselves, but we wanted to diversify the panel. So you've got people that have experience at all levels, and you've got people that have products for all levels. So from the pro players down to the youth athlete, you'll hear a little bit about that as we continue to make the introductions. So I'll hand it off. This is Andrew Beal. I'll let you introduce yourself.
Yep. Hi, my name is Andrew Beal. Woo, there you go. I'm the CEO of Athletes Go Live. We are a live scoring, live streaming platform for youth sports in both baseball, softball, and volleyball. We have a full-blown scoring system, maintains all the team and player stats, and has a lot of integration with college coaches and event companies, and kind of being able to work with the folks up here is important for a company like ours to be able to integrate with other great companies. So.
I'm Tom House, founder of National Pitching Association and a new app called Mustard, and I represent the old guys in the audience. Anybody that's 75 plus, you can pal around with me, and I kind of represent the glue that is between what is young and what is old and over the hill, and how they match up from the beginnings of the end of old school and the beginning of new school. So when we're done with introductions, maybe I'll share some stories that'll make sense to everybody.
Why don't you hold that one? I'm Steve Goody, one of the co-founders of Pocket Radar and the CEO. I'm super excited to be up here with these great folks and companies, because integrating our technology that you all know and love, hopefully, with all these great brands and companies, I think is going to raise things to another whole level up for solutions for all of you and the athletes out in the world. Really excited about it.
I'm Tom Korick with Skillshow, co-founder and CEO of Skillshow. We started back in 2001 doing video services and producing quality video for athletes, teams, events nationwide since 2001. So we've been around for a little while to watch the progression of technology around video. We're excited to be part of this group here and continue to push the limits on the video side.
Hi, I'm Todd Blyleven, CEO of the Scout Hub. Scout Hub is a relatively new kid on the block in terms of sports technology companies. But we've been in sports and baseball with my background over 40 years, growing up in the Major League Baseball industry, scouted, I played professionally, and we're bringing a lot of that technology into what we produce for full coaches solutions. We built a baseball scouting app that marries objective to subjective scouting, so similar to what Tom had said, where it marries old school to new school valuations, and we produced an athlete resume helping athletes expose their game. So again, we're just really excited to be here.
And yes, his father is Bert Blyleven, for anyone trying to connect those dots. And really quick, too, I think it's important to give a little context. Andrew, you have players in your family. Your kids are athletes. You're a coach yourself. Tom, your resume is impeccable. Obviously, I think everyone here knows who Tom is, but we'll just go ahead and I'll read this off to us. He's often called the father of modern pitching mechanics and has over 50 years of experience in Major League Baseball as a pitcher and pitching coach. He's coached Hall of Famers in baseball, football, golf, tennis, and other sports, including Nolan Ryan, Drew Brees, Cole Hamels, Tom Brady, Randy Johnson. You've written some books. You are the most humble person, so I had to brag on you for you because that's quite an impressive resume. Steve, you have been in this business for quite a while. You came from tech and started Pocket Radar as a passion project really about 15 years ago. Zero baseball experience, but absolutely a beautiful product. Tom, you've been in the business forever. You work with companies like Perfect Game, Prospect Select. You work with a lot of different companies, so you see really great athletes. And then Todd, obviously, growing up in the game, you've got pictures of yourself in the baseball dugouts, and then you were in one yourself. So your experience is amazing. And you have a son who plays really competitively too. So just to give a little personal background on them. So we oftentimes confuse technology and think that it's simply metrics. So I don't know if this is my mic, Todd, or the one by the... Sorry, it's making some noise. But we often confuse technology for just metrics-based solutions. So Pocket Radar captures velocities. There's other companies out there. You all can name like 5 of them that capture metrics. But really, I wanted to bring companies up here that were technology, but weren't those metrics capturing companies. Oftentimes, that's what is the focus in these conversations. So I wanted to really, again, diversify based on skill level and the athletes they serve, but also the type of technology out there. They just don't get enough love, and it's really important because it does help your athletes and you as coaches. So we're going to jump in. It's just going to be a question style discussion. So I'm going to ask these guys some questions. They're going to pass around their mic. And at the end, we'll do some Q&A. So have as many questions as you guys would like. So we'll start with you, Tom, given that resume that we just listed off. And I didn't even read the whole thing, so we can brag about you more later. But at what point did you realize that data, and more specifically technology, is going to play a key role in the game?
Well, again, I hit the crease between old school and new school, and technology started presenting itself in the early to mid 80s with motion capture. And I believe we were the first on the field coaches to take what was at that time a Kodak technology and became an aerial motion capture system. And we started looking at athletes at 1,000 frames a second. And what it did, how many in the audience are 55 and older? Okay, what it did was it took what our eyes were telling us, but actually lying to us, and actually showed us what was actually happening with the delivery. Like, I knew that your dad was like a stud, but I didn't realize until we looked at him at 1,000 frames a second why he was a stud. So old school taught based on what their eyes saw, but the human eyes can only see about 40 frames a second. And the visual on this is, how many of you seen a car commercial on TV where the car's going 70 miles an hour, but what are the wheels doing? They're going backwards or stop because the camera's only giving you 40 frames a second. Well, when we started seeing things at 250 frames a second, up to 1,000 frames a second, all of a sudden we realized that what we were actually teaching as old school coaches wasn't really happening with the actual delivery or the swing of an athlete in baseball. So again, we had probably 150 major league pitchers in the computer at 1,000 frames a second before I started writing about it and using the data and the evaluations to come up with deliverables. And that kind of got us started on to where we are right now. And I know you use the same phrase I do, Steve. We're looking to democratize what the elite organizations, the elite athletes, and the people that have money can actually capture. We're living in a technology age right now that is really second to none in the history of sports. There's more technology that is great technology, but the issues that I'm seeing is they have measurables and quantifiables, but no deliverables. In other words, best data ever. But with all this data, they look at it and they really don't have, okay, based on this, here's what you need to do as a teach, or here's what you need to do as a drill, whether it's for neurological or whether it's for physical. And the combination of current data capture and the old school going all the way back to my generation and your dad's generation, that combination democratized, and the ability of you young folks to take what old school knew intuitively and match it up to a deliverable that will actually help a kid The bottom line with this whole thing is that we're all trying to make athletes better. And as coaches, we have the responsibility not to get caught up in the silos of indifference that happen in baseball. What I see in baseball is everybody's in the game to improve the game, but very few people cooperate organization to organization or, coach to coach. And whether it's our group with the NPA, whether it's anybody sitting out there, it should not be a competition about helping athletes get better. And starting from the youngsters, the first window of trainability is that pre-adolescent that is in the neural side of the equation. We're just trying to make his body work with his nervous system. Then it gets to the conditioning side. And skill acquisition doesn't even really take place until junior, senior year in high school. So the data shows that specialization is not good, but what do we tend to do? We tend to have year-round baseball specialization at the expense of long-term development of the athlete. So the data shows specialization is not good. Let's take a step back ego-wise and money-wise and realize it's the integration of technology with the on-the-field experience of you coaches that's going to make the difference with the kid.
Absolutely.
That's pretty much where we are right now.
Absolutely. And you keep mentioning old school and new school. And Todd, you've shared a really funny story about your dad and a conversation you had about technology specifically. Can you elaborate on that? Tell everybody kind of that conversation with Hall of Famer dad and now you with your tech company. So.
Yeah, it was about 7 years ago. My dad, was announcing with the Minnesota Twins, and Fox had all the sportscasters out in Malibu and California. And anyways, after he got done with the 4 days of going through all their analysts meetings, we're sitting at In-N-Out one day in Huntington Beach, and he says, "Can you believe that they want me to actually write on the teleprompter, and they want me to draw these arrows, and they want me to talk about bat exit velocity and pitchability and movement and y-axis and x-axis, and they want me to talk about all these metrics. Why can't we just talk about the game?" And I look back at that and watching my dad's career as he was announcing over the last 20 some odd years with Minnesota up until this last year, he became accustomed to today's technology, but it was also really confusing to him on why that was important to talk about as a hitter, and because he was using his old school mentality and evaluating players. So I thought it was really a funny story that that's when I was introduced to, hey, analytics, metrics, data capture in baseball alone and sports, it's here. And it's here to stay.
Yeah. Andrew, I want to ask you, what do you think the biggest hurdles are that coaches face? You're a coach yourself. You have that experience. When it comes to technology and adopting it, understanding it, just elaborate a little bit on that.
Yeah, I think it's difficult for coaches out there because you're given so many different options of technology. You're not sure which one you should be using. Okay. I do feel like, as a coach, you want to be able to, exactly what they were talking about, is be able to give deliverables to your kids as a coach, right? Not just here's your exit velocity or here's your miles per hour. It's how do I make this kid a better player, right? And it's so important, especially at the younger age groups. And I'm a big proponent as well of not having kids play the same sport all year round as a coach. I've coached softball for 15 years. Both my daughters played. My youngest is graduating this year from Duke University, but it's all about allowing them to be multi-sport athletes and allowing them to be able to coach them up and show them this is what you're doing, this is how to fix it. And I think that's really one of the biggest things that's missing in the sport for coaches, to be able to give them those kind of tools out there in the space. So super important.
Steve, do you want to jump in as a founder of a company that focuses on technology? We present a number to people, right? So what does that mean?
Yeah. Test. It's not working though. Is it working?
Yeah, I think so.
You hear me? Okay. It's not as loud as it was. Yeah, it was weird that I ended up in this company because I don't have a baseball background.
You're good.
Okay. But quickly learned that radar was the back of some of the initial technology that should have been baseball. So we, as you all know, tried to say, how can we democratize this first piece of a technology that is so widely needed and used? And over the years, I've started to understand that even though we made a great tool, that even today, very, very few coaches and players and parents understand how to take that data, even data as simple as our data, exit velocities, pitching velocities. I thought that'd be much more broadly understood. And it is understood from the point of view of, what's that guy pitch, and even now exit velocity. But that hard part that many of you were referring to about, well, what if I need to get better? How can I use that number as part of a process or a strategy of coaching to use that number as feedback? And I think that's one of the things I call it biofeedback, giving that real-time feedback to a hitter or a pitcher when they're trying to learn control of that off-speed pitch or how to improve their exit velocity. I was shocked to find out how, now everybody here probably, you're in the top of the crowd and then you know how to do this, but out there, I'd say it's a vast majority does not know how to do something as simple as use velocity as a feedback tool for changing mechanics or control. It's far less understood than I ever thought it was. So I think as companies, one of the things we need to do collectively is through our software and our systems and our teaching, close that gap. Make it so I almost think as a technologist, my job is to hide the technology and make it be like what this software does, like Mustard and others, is it just tell the kid what to do. And it can measure numbers, but inside they have the system tell them. So I think that's our future in tech, is to how to make it simpler and more invisible and just make the kids better in some non-technical way, ideally.
Yeah, I gotcha. So let's talk real quick about video in general. That's a technology and a service that's highly used now between player profiles, Tom and Mustard's app. You guys use video quite a bit. You analyze players. You have videos of coaching elements. Tom Couric, you've seen so much of this game evolve from a recruiting standpoint, specifically with your video company. What have you seen in terms of streaming and video and the videos you put together? How has that changed the game, do you think?
Well, I'll say this. You can't walk the show this year or the last couple of years without seeing video in somebody's booth, right? And we've been doing video since 2001. We started after I played professional baseball, I played collegiate baseball, and we started our portion of it. It really was, how do you bring video online? And that was, at the time, didn't exist. A little bit loud. I'm gonna hold that. Is this better? Is that better? So at the time, it was just, how do you get video online? Well, now you look at it and everyone's got video, and they've got video components in Radar, Pocket Radar, and you've got video components online and live streaming. I mean, the awesome thing about video and with regards to technology is that it's kind of like when you go to a restaurant, you look at a menu, you don't just tell the waiter or waitress, I'd like to have food. You go through and you choose, there's different appetizers and there's main menus. There's so many types of video, from player development video, training video, instructional video, biomechanical, 1,000 frames per second, slow motion, high-speed slow-mo, to recruiting. I do think, and it's been a kind of common theme here tonight, is you do have to, with regards to all the technology and all the video that's available in our industry now, you do have to read through the noise, right? There's so much data, there's so much video, there's so much availability of video. And the good thing is, storage is cheaper now than ever, and video is so powerful of a tool that I think we all collectively have to figure out how to use it and what areas we need to use it, because it can be overwhelming to try to use in every piece of what you do. You never get on the field, right? Like this is an industry where you got to be on the field with athletes and student athletes and helping them. So we got to just figure out what components of video, because it is just, to answer your question, it has grown exponentially, and it's grown in so many different categories. It's pretty awesome, and again, the most powerful tool there is for a lot of what we do. It's just a matter of trying to figure out which components of it you need.
For sure. Yeah. So you mentioned something about cutting through the clutter. The app space is obviously booming, right? We've got a bunch of apps up here with us. So Tom House, how can people cut through the clutter? How can they see that there's so much availability of the apps? But what should they look for? What should coaches look for when they look to this technology?
Is this my microphone yelling at yours?
You can switch to
you want to switch?
Okay.
You're good.
All right, we're good. So she just brought up something that's pretty interesting. The bottom line with all this technology and what everybody's doing on apps is, can you actually do on an app what you would do in person? So challenge yourself sitting in the audience right now. Can you look at data and come up with something from that mass of numbers and information capture and come up with a teachable for the athlete you're working with? And if you're looking at an app and it doesn't do that, then it's up to you to try to interpret to help the kid. And the bottom line is, as we're out there looking, there are all kinds of great data capture. The technology is awesome, but can it trickle down to a teachable for the youngster you're working with? So you master information, you master instruction, you make a difference and mentor a kid, and then everything falls in place. So the biggest issue that I'm running across as I'm getting into my golden years is to kind of put your ego aside and ask yourself, what are you in the business for? And if you're in the business to help develop youngsters, especially the peewees, the preteens, because right now in today's world, there's 120 million male, female, pre-adolescents that will stop playing sports before they're 14 years old. Somehow, some way, we have to have them playing longer through high school. If they play through high school based on what you're able to teach them and let them have fun while they're learning and playing, then you've made a difference in their life. So that's the challenge that I would throw your way. The fact you come and you listen to us talking about technology and deliverables, ask yourself, are you helping the kid that you're working with get better with the technology? Does that help?
That absolutely helps. Yeah. In terms of just technology and working together, we're going to put like our business hats on right now and not necessarily coaches. It's my job at Pocket Radar to find partners like these and to integrate and to put our velocity measurements and the metrics that we'll capture into their technology to help them better their app and then ultimately help you guys do your job as best you can and seamlessly. So can you guys just talk as business owners, as business leaders, can you guys just talk about how's the tech space in regards to working with other tech companies? We've obviously figured it out, right? Like we're all friends. So how does that work? Because a lot of times you'll hear, oh, aren't they your competition? No, that's an opportunity. So can you guys touch on that?
Yeah, I mean, at Athletes Go Live, we built a platform, and the concept of our platform obviously is live streaming, live scoring, maintaining team and player stats. But a big part of what we are is the ability to integrate with other companies that have great products that allow these athletes to take what we're giving them in that live streaming, live scoring platform and integrate the Pocket Radars and the Scout Hubs and these kind of companies that have great tools for these kids to be able to integrate together. So it's a big part of what we built as we built our company, to be able to do API integration and that stuff. And we will continue to work with companies to integrate with them. So big part of it.
These come and go. This one.
You're having a tough time.
Oh yeah, the mic. Speaking of technology, those who know me well understand that I look at this particular topic with great passion because, traditional business and business owners use a lot of analogy about warfare. It's about whether I live, you die, or vice versa, and that's never the way that we wanted to approach our business. And I know many of the people that we're working with, and most of the companies here, also I think don't really buy into that. And it's really the power of coming together, where we all stay in our lanes, do something exceptionally well, hopefully in our lanes, but the power of combining, and especially deeply when we worked with partners to look at the customer, the athlete, the coach, and combine in ways that are much higher level thinking, not just, A plus B, it's really like the sum of the parts. It really is a 1 + 1 = 3 or 4 kind of a scenario, because once we come together, especially if we do it well, the outcome's so much better. And I never worry about competition, because I figure, if we all get together, we're making the pie bigger. We're making the solution set broader available to more, democratization. To me, that makes the pie so big, I don't have to worry about whether I have to have the whole pie or not. Nice slice of that bigger pie is fine. And I sort of approach the philosophy that way.
I'll say some of that real quick too. Is when you talk about companies partnering and integrating together, I think just like when you build a team, right? This one's off. But when you build a team, it really comes down to the people. You know, if you work with, and you can build a great team of great people. Really, it's about your culture. And so when you find people that have good product or good services, and you get to know them, and shows like this and trade shows like this are a great example of it, is when you get a chance to meet, or if you guys meet some of the vendors here this weekend and talk about their product, it's really easy to work together and to stay in your lane when you trust that someone else is going down the right road to satisfy something for this audience, right? If someone's doing a better job that we can do and they're growing and we can stay in our lane and do what we do well, it's just like being an athlete on a team. You do your job well and you trust your teammates to do the same. And I think you're finding a lot of good groups coming together in this space, in this arena, because I think there's some great people and some great technologies, and it comes down to the people.
Yeah, I agree. I think, when I look back 2 years ago and I'm sitting at a coffee house having a conversation with a national cross-checker with a Major League Baseball team, and we're looking at pitchers and we're breaking down mechanics, and he doesn't know the difference between some of today's metrics that you guys are using in your recruiting efforts and also your development efforts. He doesn't know what those are. That's a problem. And so over the last 2 years, you've seen a giant educational leap from top level down, educating scouts, educating college coaches. We're all here. You walk around, you're seeing all kinds of tech companies. And one of the first things I do when I go up and I'm introducing myself to a booth is I ask, what is the deliverable to the athlete? Is that something that I can use in, whether it's an AI device or video capture device or some sort of metric capture? Do I have to be the expert to dissect those metrics? And then do I have to also be the expert in player development to then build development roadmaps to help that athlete succeed? And there are tech companies and apps out there that do a lot of that. I think for me, I love to collaborate with other app companies because I'm not an expert and my company's not an expert where you guys may be. And so to collaborate, now all of a sudden we create a better opportunity for that athlete in the end to succeed, because that's what it's all about. We've gone down our path. We've done our thing. I've had the opportunity to be around some amazing people that have taught me so much about this game. Now it's our turn to give back to those athletes, for those athletes to succeed.
That was perfect. Okay, so I want to go, and we can just kind of go back down the line again, and then end with you, Tom, if you don't mind. What is the biggest piece of advice you guys have for coaches when it comes to technology specifically, to coaching? I don't want to put too many parameters on it, but obviously within context of the conversation, what's the biggest piece of advice you guys have?
I think, it can be confusing. I think for coaches, no matter what level you are, try to find something that works for you. Don't try to get the next greatest app because it works for your friend or another school. Try to find something that really works for you so you can then help that athlete. That's the whole bottom line. Otherwise, it creates confusion and you're just going to get frustrated and not use it. Become a fan of technology. Really try to embrace it. It's here. It's not going anywhere. But I think you have to be able to use something that you can personally use based on your own experience.
100% agree. I would add to that. It's hard to follow. There's too much technology coming too fast. And when you've got a job and your job is on the field to coach and recruit and be a psychologist and do all the things you've got to do as a coach, the truth of the matter is you have to learn about technology now. You can't ignore it, right? I think that as much as you can say, look, I do some things my way, I think in today's world, the advice I would answer the question with is just ask a lot of questions, Get help from even the younger generation, the players. I find that with my own kids. They help me sometimes find and learn about some technology I didn't know about. And coming to a trade show like this, I learned about stuff. So I would say ask a lot of questions. You've got to be open to technology. If you don't want to be, you kind of have to in this day and age. But you also just got to know what your main role is and stay focused without getting too overwhelmed.
I totally agree with what they both said. I think that it comes down to, like it or not, technology is here to stay, and I think ultimately will make everything, it'll make it better for the athletes and the coaches ultimately. It's confusing now because we're in what I would call a tech bubble, an explosion of technology, which makes it like getting hit with tsunami. But I think it just is incumbent upon all of us, coaches, players, parents, to start to spend some time educating themselves more. And you really do have to go out there and take a look. And hopefully companies can help you do that in understanding what it's for, how to use it, this kind of thing. And I think using the youth members of the audience on the team. We have a local university team near us, and I was out there, with the team. And the head coach is an older gentleman, and he empowered all of his athletes. Like, he goes, I don't know this stuff, but I want all you guys to load this particular app, and I want you to go use it this way. He was empowering the team itself, almost like crowdsourcing the knowledge. And I thought that was a very clever way for them to get on top of it really quickly. And all the kids are just like, of course we can do this. This is easy. And they're all instantly put it on their phone and started using it. So education, learning.
Yeah, you're gonna.
Tom's gonna finish.
Yeah, obviously, I kind of agree with everything they're saying. You have to, as a coach, you have to continue to learn, and you also have to continue to be willing to change. If you don't, you're going to get passed by other people that are willing to learn and are willing to change. Our job, I know at my company, and I know they feel the same way, is my job is to try and make this technology as easy for you to use as humanly possible, right? And make it as simple as I can for you to learn how to use it out there in the marketplace. But you have to be willing to learn. I know it's not easy. Change is never easy, but I don't see anybody with a flip phone. I don't see anybody using a fax machine and a typewriter, right? So in everything we do in life, we have to continue to change with the technology that's out there. And in the sport we're in, it's not any different. So.
Piece of advice. All right, I've heard the right words, and one of these days we'll figure out how these things. Can you hear me on this one? Okay, here we go. I heard change. The greatest right we have as a person in this world is the right to change. What's the hardest thing to do? Change. You got to keep it simple. Occam's razor. The simplest solution is your job as a coach in today's world is to get the best you can from technology, combine it with what you do best as a coach. You don't confront, you collaborate, and you have to give it through the lens of the kid you're working with. If it's a mechanics thing, there's technology that supports mechanics. If it's functional strength, there's technology that will help you with that. If it's mental emotional, there's technology that will help you with that. Take advantage of what's out there, simplify it for yourself, and deliver it with what you do best to the athletes you're working with. One of the biggest problems that baseball has is you make yourself look good by telling everybody how bad everybody else is. We got to get over that. Everybody's in it for the same reason. It's a great big ocean, plenty of place for everybody to sleep. Just be good and authentic at what you do. Don't be afraid of technology. Embrace it and come up with a deliverable that is simple for your athlete to take and make himself better. That would be my advice.
That's perfect. Perfect advice. So the last thing, I want to ask you guys a question. Outside of the companies up here today, obviously we've got amazing partners up here, and it's worth noting everyone should go check these guys out in their booths, say hi. We'll do some questions after this. But outside of our companies here right now, what are a couple technology companies out there, whether they're competitors or not, that coaches should be paying attention to? Can you just list one or two and make sure you guys take a stop by their booth too?
Yeah, I mean, we work with a lot of companies. I think what the guys are doing at Baseball Cloud is a company that we've gotten a lot of interest and had some conversations from an integration perspective to be able to integrate data a big part for us is the college coaches, right? We want to be able to integrate what we do as a company for the college coaches to make the recruiting world easier. If you can watch every game live, every game archived, and we give you feature functionality, we feel what they're doing there at Baseball Cloud is some pretty solid stuff. So we enjoy working with them.
Which one works? I'll keep this one. My suggestion is get out and about and see what's available and make it work for you. What makes sense to me may not make sense to you as a coach. Find something that will improve you and what you do with your athletes, and use that to make the whole system better.
Hard to pick one or two companies out here, but I'm going to pick one that maybe a lot of people haven't used for baseball much, but I know some coaches that are really deep into video analysis and data, and V1 is a platform that's very interesting for that. That's one that comes to mind that a lot of people don't talk about, but they're here, and but there's a bunch of them. I mean, and I like what Tom said about it's going to be a personal fit thing. A lot of you are going to think a certain way, and so that the answer is going to be different for each of you as coaches. And I think Tom's right. Scan this trade show floor, meet people, and find the ones you connect with, because the technology you understand is the technology you're going to use. So that would be.
So it's an interesting question, because the idea of technology, you think of a technology company and you think of a lot of the screens you see in the 3D animation stuff. But many of the companies that we work with, like a Perfect Game or like an NCSA or Win Reality, you'd be surprised at how much technology these companies are working on behind the scenes that aren't that front-faced technology that you have. So go to some of these companies and realize what they're building from a infrastructure, a database, but there's some great technology being built that isn't necessarily what it looks like a technology company. So back to what you guys said is walk around and ask questions, because you'd be surprised at some of the fantastic tools being built that are here at the show, and they're fantastic.
Yeah, that's a really good point. I think when you look at your overall coach's platform or what you're doing as an organizational leader and how that stems down, look at your own ecosystem and what you don't currently have and what you'd like to have, and try to go out and investigate that opportunity to help develop athletes for player exposure, mental aptitude training, whatever that would be. Find that type of group and investigate those apps or that technology brand or player strength brands. And there's so many great companies out here. I love coming here at ABCA, because you not only get a chance to see everybody, but to really learn about what's out there today. And technology is always changing, always changing. So it's fun. Embrace it. You can make fun and you can have fun with it. But yeah, just get out and walk the floor and talk to people.
Absolutely. All right, guys, I really appreciate it. I think it's time to open it up for questions if we have any. So if somebody wants to grab my mic. I won't put you through. Oh, there we go. We got a question.
What are the dangers to be overly depending on the programs and on the apps? Like for example, like you have the app with the workouts, like everyday workouts, and which say like you will do 25 push-ups and 40 squats every day, but it doesn't necessarily have to be suitable for anyone or for the condition in which the player is. So how to customize the programs and the stuff in the apps?
It's out there. It's called personally adaptive, are the words we use. There's like one set of rules, but there's a million interpretations. And it's up to you to find the answers with the technology that's out there. And through you personally adapt the kid that you're working with. Does that make sense? If he's got a mechanical issue, there's all kinds of data out there on what good mechanics represent. You identify the problem that your athlete has, and that's where the role of instructor really becomes important in today's technological world. You've got to take the best of technology and the best of you and come up with a deliverable that will make a difference for the athlete and his particular issue. One set of rules, a million interpretations. All right, what would happen if we started asking you guys questions? You guys know what rectosphincteralis is? Because unless somebody starts asking us questions, I'm going to have Blyleven. He's a large human. I'm going to sick him on you and have him ask you a question. So give it up, someone. Okay, good.
So you're a coach at a program. It's mid-sized high school program. You got $2,000. What technology are you saying that you need with a budget of $2,000, and you have no technology basically other than an iPhone right now?
The Mustard app is free.
Aside from self-promotion, but I'll take anything you say, Tom. I love your stuff. $2,000, and what are the haves? What are the things you need to have to start that technology base?
I'm also a coach, so I see things from two different lenses. It's hard when you have a budget, right? We totally get that. I coach at a high school, and I have a budget, so it's what I need based on where my players are at, right? So everyone is going to have different level of players. That, I coach at a small private school, so I need a lot more development tools at a small private school compared to a larger school that has a lot more D1 athletes in it. So it just depends, right? It's going to depend on your situation and where you're at with your athletes and what you need. There's no specific magic thing that you purchase that's the right thing to purchase. It's what you need that's going to help you develop the kids. So.
We're in the exact same situation, small private high school. What technology do you own for the team?
All right. So, for us, it's a lot of hitting tools. So different tees for different tee work. We added a pitching machine that gives us a little bit more movement pitches for us to allow. I actually coach high school softball. So, giving them those kind of tools, it's being able to work on a lot of tee work with the kids to teach them kind of fundamentals is kind of what we try to work on. Even fielding, we got fielding tools that were inexpensive but allowed us to work on a lot of drill sets with the kids, because at that age, not having the skill set, it's a lot of drills, so it's putting together our practices more completely drill based, and then some game kind of stuff, but for the most part it's inexpensive drill stuff, tee work, that kind of stuff. So
Yeah, I think $2,000. I think when you look at Pocket Radar, I'm not just saying it, but it's a great device because it allows you to capture accurate velocity. And as a pitching coach or a hitting coach, you can create baseline metrics and work on development or arm strength programs off of velocity readings when captured correctly. You look at the Mustard app, and you got some great capabilities here on learning what those athletes, what their baselines are. And I'm going to throw mine in. With the Scout Hub, it's a $10 app that allows you to customize your valuation of those athletes with way more metrics than just a standard subjective scouting app, and it creates a development program for you to understand where your athletes are deficient and you to build better development programs. So you've got three apps up here that are well in that financial realm to help you as a coach and help your athletes succeed. Yeah.
All right, guys, I think we're running out of time. I'm getting fingers flashed and with signs waved and stuff. So we're going to wrap up, but I believe we'll all be around. I think we're going to go stop by the Pocket Radar booth. And if you guys have questions and want to talk to any of the guys up here, please feel free to stop by. And again, we encourage you to stop by every tech booth that's out there. Don't just look at the metric-based technologies. Pocket Radar is one of them, but don't just look there. Look at the apps, look at everything that's out there. And we encourage you too to come to us and say, hey, we love your tool or this tool. Can you find a way to integrate? That's something that's really important to us, is that feedback from you coaches. So come back to us with feedback. Always know you can call our support line if you don't talk to me or anyone today. We want to know what's out there, what you guys are using and what you want when it comes to technology and integration. So it was great talking to you guys, and thank you guys so much for coming up. This was wonderful, and I hope that it was beneficial to you guys who all came to sit with us.